Hello guitarists, Josh from Sacred 13. Just doing a little bit of jamming in my studio today, and thought I'd demonstrate for you what I'm doing exactly. Something I really like to do is I like to take chord progressions that sound kind of common or traditional, and I like to switch some intervals around, try different modes and whatnot on top of them, and really make them interesting while keeping the hook of the original progression. So what I have going on here is a chord progression that, like I said, is kind of a little bit on the common side, but I'm doing some interval tweaks, I'm trying some different modes, and in my opinion, and you can hear it in a lot of my more recent music, I feel like a chord serves three functions. And now a musician would look at this and say, well, that's obvious. But I don't think a lot of people maybe put as much attention to this detail as I like to. So what I feel is a chord in a progression, it has to serve three functions. It has to serve its own purpose as a chord. It has to serve a purpose as a transitional chord from the previous chord, which seems obvious. Then it also has to serve a purpose as a transitional chord to the next chord. So you got to be careful about where your majors and minors and augmented chords are, your diminished chords, because they all lead one into another. For instance, this chord progression starts out very standard, starts out on D, D major, Ionian mode, and I want to establish that major sound right from the get-go. A lot of people have seen me do my shredding thing already. I'm going to do a little bit more melodic playing with this demonstration. So it starts out D major, Ionian mode, pretty much root position, but I like to add the ninth in a lot of times. I like playing around with ninth chords. So as you'll see, I'm playing D major open position with the fifth on the bottom, and I like to put that ninth in. And then the next chord, a lot of times in a major chord progression, it's very common to go from your root chord, especially if you're in the Ionian mode, to your 5 chord. So I thought, okay, well, if we go to A, that would sound very good, and it would be a great change, but how can I make this interesting as a guitar player? How can I make this sound a little different and give it its own unique twist? So I thought, first thing I can do, especially if I'm playing, say, D9, if I'm playing it up here, I can go to A major first inversion. That's the first thing I can do. And to those out there who are not familiar with inverted chords, basically as opposed to playing root third fifth, in this case A, C sharp, and E, we would start on the third and we would play third fifth root. So that's our first inversion. So we're starting here. Another thing to keep in mind is the relationship between an interval, the relationship between a root and its major third is also the same as a root and a minor sixth in the Aeolian mode. So in other words, what I'm saying is, if I'm playing C sharp and A to C sharp, that's a major interval, that's a major third. But C sharp to A in the Aeolian mode is also a sixth. So what we have going on here is a little bit of a different tonality. Our tonal focus is based more on the C sharp with this chord, but we're still keeping the A triad notes. So it's still an A major chord. But then I thought, well, what if we did something even further? And what I did was, and these are very simple tweaks, it's just a matter of implementing them. What I did was I put C sharp minor's fifth, its perfect fifth, on the top, the G sharp. So what you have going on are two things. You have the half-step oscillation between G sharp and A, which I really like. I think that's a really unique sound. I like it. But it also gives more of the C sharp minor sound. So it's like you have the A major and the C sharp minor going at the same time. So that's a really unique thing there. Then we move down to C9. And this kind of brings it back around a little bit. What this chord does, though, I was talking about transitions earlier, this chord sets up D. If you're still playing, say the Ionian mode up on D here, root position, what this turns D into now is the Lydian mode, because there's your augmented fourth. So now we go down to the C9 chord. And then after that, open position G major. That's resolves nicely back to D. Now what we're doing here is we're taking our D major and we're switching it to minor. We're going to have a minor third in here. We're playing F major. Then we're going to B flat major, which right there establishes if you're up on D and you're playing, either you're playing your major scale and then you switch to minor for this F. This establishes that it's the Aeolian mode, as opposed to say Dorian, which has a major sixth. This is your minor sixth. If we were in the Dorian mode, it would be B. So it's B flat. Then, of course, to resolve the whole thing, now that we're in D minor, we're going to go down to the Phrygian dominant. We're going to go to the A major chord. That sets us up for that Mixolydian flat 9, flat 13, or also known as the Spanish Gypsy. So that sets us up for a nice harmonic minor resolve back into the D, but we're going into D major, so this fifth kind of works nice. So it's almost like it creates like an augmented situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can jam over something like this, and my goal here is to be very fluent with it and be a little more melodic and let it flow chord to chord, because if you notice, each chord change is a slight interval change. So you have D, there's your perfect fifth. Here, as opposed to the Mixolydian mode, which it should be, we're adding the major seventh in there where it should be a minor seventh. And then, like I said, C9, so we change that. And then we're going into G, D, F, B flat, and then the Phrygian dominant, A major. That creates the harmonic minor, and then we're back into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show you how you can jam over that fluently and make minor changes from chord to chord that create really nice, not very complex, but really nice chord changes, and there's a lot you can do with that. So let's see what happens.